Doris Malone was 81 when she realized something had changed. Not the stiff knees or the fading hearing, those she'd expected. She was talking about the uglier stuff, the habits, the behavior, the little transformations that snuck in like thieves and left her standing in front of the mirror thinking, this isn't me. Or at least, it didn't used to be. It started with the impatience. She'd once been known for her calm. 3 children, 5 grandchildren, decades in customer service. But now, the smallest things made her snap. A slow cashier, the TV remote not working, a friend forgetting a date. She caught herself muttering sharp things under her breath, slamming doors harder than necessary, and once yelling at a telemarketer with venom that startled even her. She didn't like the feeling, but she couldn't always stop it. I think I'm becoming mean, she confessed to her neighbor, Carl, one afternoon. Carl nodded slowly. Happens to all of us, he said. You're just tired of everything, of waiting, of noise, of people not listening. It wears you down. She didn't like that truth. Then there was the blaming. Doris had always taken pride in accountability. But lately, when things went wrong, a lost letter, a bad meal, the thermostat too low, she instinctively pointed outward. That nurse never listens. Those delivery people don't care. They probably messed up the mail again. She noticed it one day when her grandson pointed out a missed bill. Instead of thanking him, she snapped, well, if the mailman did his job. He gave her a look, a kind one, but a telling one. The thing was, deep down, she knew some of it was her fault. But the pride of a life lived long made admitting fault feel harder, almost humiliating. There was something in her that needed to feel in control, and blame gave her that illusion. Another ugly thing, the judging. She'd always considered herself open-minded, but now she caught herself making comments she wouldn't have dared say 10 years ago. About the way kids dressed, about how people spoke, about tattoos and politics and music and choices, and sometimes the thoughts were harsher than the words. She'd sit in the park and watch young mothers scroll on their phones while toddlers climbed slides and mutter, back in my day, we watched our kids. She hated that tone in herself. She wasn't supposed to be bitter, but there it was, like a film over her thoughts. Then came the hoarding, not of things, but of memories, of routines, of the past. Her house filled with old magazines, old receipts, clothes from the 1970s that didn't fit. She kept a broken toaster for 2 years just in case. The drawer next to her bed held cards from birthdays long gone, notes from people now dead, expired coupons. She knew it was too much, but letting go felt like deleting proof of her life. And change. Change felt dangerous, like one new habit might undo the whole structure that kept her stable. So she clung to stuff, to ways, to yesterday. The fifth thing was the withdrawal. Not from people exactly. She still went to church, still attended birthdays when invited, but from vulnerability, from truth, from open emotion. When friends died, she said, that's life, and changed the subject. When she missed her late husband at night, she'd bury herself in crossword puzzles instead of letting herself cry. She'd been strong for so long that grief now felt like weakness. It was easier to stay silent than say, I'm lonely. Easier to pretend than admit she was afraid of becoming invisible. And then, the hardest one to admit, the resentment. She resented being helped. When her daughter offered to clean the kitchen, Doris bristled. When her son suggested she stop driving at night, she went cold. She knew they meant well, but every offer of help felt like an insult. Like they were saying, you're not who you used to be. And they were right, but it hurt, because she remembered who she used to be. She remembered lifting 3 kids out of bed in the morning and driving them to school while packing lunches and working full time. She remembered fixing leaky faucets and killing spiders for screaming teenagers and balancing a checkbook with a pencil and a calculator. She remembered being the one who helped. Now, every hand offered to steady her on a curb felt like the universe reminding her of everything she'd lost. One night, she sat alone with a cup of tea that had gone cold in her hands. She looked around at the quiet house. She thought about the way she had barked at her daughter for rearranging the pantry, the way she rolled her eyes at the volunteer who mispronounced her name at bingo, the way she clutched the past like a lifeline and rejected the present like a curse. And she asked herself a hard question. Is this who I want to be for the rest of whatever time I've got left? The answer, quietly, was no. Change wouldn't be easy. It wasn't like flipping a switch. But the next morning, she made a small vow. She thanked her caregiver more sincerely than usual. She called her daughter and apologized for snapping. She threw away 3 expired soup cans and 1 dusty lamp. And most of all, she said out loud to no one in particular, "I'm still here. I'm still learning. I can still choose who I am." Aging wasn't graceful all the time. Sometimes it was ugly. But Doris decided she didn't have to go quietly into bitterness. She'd go honestly, kindly, one small act at a time.